And since Graham's audio is working, I just wanted to check which item he's here for. Are you able to unmute, Graham?
I'm here for 1947 Auburn.
Perfect. Okay. All right. I've got since Graham's audio is working, I just wanted to check with.
I think we're ready to begin.
Okay, great. Good afternoon. My name is Allison McKenzie, and I am chair of the Historic Conservation Board. I would like to take a minute to remind everyone about the rules of this proceeding. This proceeding is at all times governed by the rules of procedure adopted by the board on September 26, 2011, amended March 23, 2015, last amended March 9, 2020. A copy of the rules of procedure is available for review online. All those planning to testify today, which does not include those solely making arguments such as attorneys, should stand and take an oath administered by the board's attorney. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. As such, the board reserves the right to deliberate in private. The Ohio Rules of Evidence do not apply to this hearing. However, professional rules of conduct do apply, and candor to the tribunal is required. The board members are citizen volunteers and are not paid for their service. They are treated as public officials under Ohio law. Any attempt to influence them, including but not limited to bribery, intimidation, retaliation, which may include contacting their employer in an attempt to exert influence, is punishable as a crime. All should be aware that this meeting is being recorded. Therefore, please speak clearly into your microphone and state your name and address for the record. In the event of any technical difficulties with the video conferencing technology, I may continue or postpone this hearing at my discretion. All participants providing testimony must have both camera and audio features turned on in order to participate. With that said, let's proceed with the first item. Mr. Owen? Or Ms. Ahaus?
So yeah, I believe it'll be Ms. Ahaus today.
Yes, I'll be presenting for Doug Owen today, but the first item is a consent item.
Okay, does anyone wish to pull this consent item onto the discussion docket?
No.
If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve both the zoning relief and the certificate of appropriateness.
Second.
Roll. Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sunderman,
Aye.
Mr. Voss,
Aye.
Mr. Zelasco,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. We'll move on to item 2.
Okay, so the first item before you, item 2 on our agenda today, is 1621 Pleasant Street. This is both zoning relief and a certificate of appropriateness for an addition. You can see the zoning relief before you today is a density variance of 1 unit to permit the proposed density of 2 units at 850 square feet of lot area per unit. We also have a dimensional variance of 5.42 feet for the proposed rear yard setback and a dimensional variance of 2 feet for the minimum and 1 feet for the total side yard setbacks. This is the existing condition of the building at the property. It is a 3-story brick building built circa 1878. It is as built. It extends to the front and side lot lines, and it's currently in use as a single-family dwelling. And you can see its general location here on the west side of Pleasant Street between Green Street and West Liberty Street in the Over the Rhine neighborhood and the Over the Rhine Historic District. What is proposed is a rehabilitation of the existing building, which includes a 665 square foot rear addition that expands the density from 1 unit to 2 units. You can see the general existing and proposed site plan here. The Historic Conservation Board did approve the demolition of former rear additions in November of 2011. So you can see those rear additions on the same board map here. And what is proposed is a 2-story frame construction rear addition. You can see the floor plans here. These are the existing elevations. This is what is proposed. So none of the proposed changes will be highly visible from the street view. It's at a similar location to that historic addition, which was approved for demolition in 2011. The materials are a fiber cement lap siding. Windows are going to be the Anderson E-Series windows, which are a pre-approved window model. You can see in the elevation review, there is a cutout for some outdoor patio space on that 2nd-story roof. And overall, staff's finding that this addition is not going to overpower the original building. It's compatible with the character of the original historic design. There was a pre-hearing on July 5th, 2023, and no one was in attendance for that pre-hearing. In terms of the zoning relief they're requesting, the density variance allows 1 additional unit, and that will support the rehabilitation of the building and allow the owner to fully utilize the property. Historically, the building had a density of 6 units, so this 2-unit density is compatible with its historic use, which was actually much more dense. The setbacks are similar in nature to the surrounding development and would be considered a substantial property right enjoyed by other property owners in the vicinity. So we find additionally, the proposal was reviewed according to the Over the Rhine Historic Conservation Guidelines, and we found that it conforms to the design guidelines. So we are recommending approval of both the zoning relief and the certificate of appropriateness. In terms of the zoning relief, we make the finding that such relief from the literal implication of the zoning code will not be material detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare or injurious to property within the district or vicinity where the property is located, and that it's necessary and appropriate and in the interest of historic conservation so as not to adversely affect the historic architectural or aesthetic integrity of the district. For the certificate of appropriateness, we are also recommending approval, and we made the finding that the property owner has demonstrated by credible evidence that the property substantially conforms to the applicable conservation guidelines. So I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
We do have the architect applicant signed up. Would you like to add anything today? If so, we'll get you sworn in.
I think Emily did a great job. I don't need to add anything.
Okay. That is all I have signed up. Are there any questions from the board for the applicant or staff? If none, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the zoning relief and the certificate of appropriateness for 1621 Pleasant Street as laid out by staff. Second.
Second.
I'll call the roll. Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman,
Aye.
Mr. Voss,
Aye.
Mr. Zelasco,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. It looks like you're good to move ahead. Item number
Thank you.
3.
Item number 3 is 14 East 13th Street. This is just a certificate of appropriateness review. There is no zoning relief requested with this application. You can see this is the location of the subject property. It's on the north side of East 13th Street between Vine Street and Walnut Street. It's in the Over the Rhine neighborhood as well as the Over the Rhine Historic District. You can see in red, it currently consists of 3 different parcels. So there's a principal building at 14 East 13th Street, which is here. There's a single-story non-contributing garage at 12 East 13th Street, and the rear lot is vacant. And here's the street view of the existing condition. The garage currently serves as a garage and storage building, and the principal structure has a vacant storefront and residential above currently. And what is proposed today is a renovation of the existing building. It includes an addition above the existing garage structure into the rear. It will also join all of the buildings together. So it's a 1-story addition above the garage and a 2.5-story addition at the rear of the parcel. There's also, you can see a deck at the rear of the property. Here are the existing elevations. Here are the proposed elevations. There are going to be new window openings on the rear elevation of 14 East 13th Street. Replacement windows will be installed throughout the building. The first floor storefront is going to remain commercial with a single family residence above. There is going to be the rear vacant lot will become a new driveway with a permeous paver system that leads to the garage. You can see an elevation here. Overall, you can see the massing of the addition is placed towards the rear of the site. And you can see here in the rendering views, the 2nd-story addition above the garage building that's going to be really the most visible change from the street view of the site. This does have a modern design with a dark gray metal cladding that is going to sort of make it blend into the background and take a sort of secondary appearance based on that cladding and the setback. But overall, we felt that raising the height of that building is more compatible with the historic streetscape, which is primarily 3-story buildings. So this 1-story garage is more of an outlier as it stands in the streetscape. That addition is not going to overpower the building. It's contemporary but compatible, and we found it to be consistent with the design guidelines. Here you can see color rendering views of the rear as well. There was a pre-hearing on July 5th. And only the applicant and property owners were in attendance. So we are recommending approval with 4 conditions that are outlined in your staff report. The first is the metal panel cladding will have a matte, not a glossy or reflective finish. The second is that specific replacement window models will be subject to staff review and approval prior to the issuance of building permits. The third is that the parcels will be consolidated prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. And the fourth is that the building permit will be issued within 2 years, otherwise the COA will expire. We make the finding that the property owner has demonstrated by credible evidence that the property substantially conforms with the applicable historic guidelines.
Thank you. Looks like we do have 2 owners, Tim and Lori Howland, signed up. If either of you would like to add anything, we'll get you sworn in.
We have nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board for the applicant or staff? I don't have anyone else signed up, so if there are no questions, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the certificate of appropriateness for 14th East 13th Street as laid out by staff.
Second.
Thank you. I will call the roll. Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sunderman,
Aye.
Mr. Voss,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Zelasco.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Thank you very much. We will move on to item number 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is an application for both zoning relief and a certificate of appropriateness at 1531, 1533 Vine Street. And let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, sorry, I'm having some issues. But anyway, this application is for a conditional use for an outdoor area exceeding 50% of the interior area accessible to the public. And the proposal is to have a new bar and restaurant at this location. This building has been vacant for a number of years. It is historically a mixed-use building, 4 stories, and there is an outdoor area to the north, which fronts on Liberty Street. So the applicant is proposing to rehabilitate the building and have the bar and restaurant at the first floor. This will necessitate having some ductwork for the bar and restaurant. And the best location for this ductwork is on the north side of the building, which is a visible elevation. However, given the building siding, it is up to the lot line and there's an alley that runs behind it to the west. So that's not really a feasible location for ductwork. On the south side, there is a narrow area for egress for the tenants that will be living here. The upper floors are proposed to be rehabilitated into condos. So putting ductwork on this side may impede egress and possibly be a safety issue. So the best place for the ductwork is to go on the north elevation. There is currently a mural that is painted on this elevation, and the applicant is proposing to paint out the ductwork to match the mural that is here. There is a similar situation. It was in your packet at 1005 Walnut Street where this was successfully done, where a metal duct also goes up the side of the building, but it is painted out to match the mural on that building. And we feel that that was done very successfully. So the applicant is proposing the same treatment at this location. In addition, they will be restoring the window openings. The storefront on the east elevation will be restored, and it is an appropriate design. They will cut new window openings into the north elevation for the new condo units. And we also feel that that is appropriate and is done in a manner that is sympathetic to the building. It still gives a symmetrical appearance. So we also find that appropriate. So the relief is, staff recommends that the Historic Conservation Board take the following steps as far as the zoning relief: to approve a conditional use approval for an outdoor area exceeding 50% of the size of the indoor area within 500 feet of a residential district boundary. And such relief will not be materially detrimental to the public health, safety, welfare, or injurious to property within the district. It is necessary and appropriate in the interest of historic conservation so as to not adversely affect the historic architecture or aesthetic integrity of the district. In this case, having this use will put a building that has been vacant for many years back into productive use. So we certainly would encourage the rehabilitation of this building. As far as the certificate of appropriateness, the conditions are outlined in the staff report. But the metal exhaust duct should be painted to blend with the existing mural in appropriate colors and finish, which would be a matte finish to match existing mural. A landscape buffer shall be added around the front of the fence for the makeup air unit in the outdoor area in order to soften the area. 2 of the parcels will be consolidated prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Specific doors and windows will be approved by staff prior to the issuance of building permits and should be an appropriate dark color so that they are not highly noticeable against the mural. And the building permit must be issued within 2 years or the COA shall expire. And the finding is that the board makes this determination per section 1435-092 that the proposed project substantially conforms to the Over the Rhine Historic Conservation Guidelines, and the metal ductwork on the north elevation of the building will be appropriately screened by painting to blend with the existing mural. And again, there's really not another feasible location of this given the proximity of the building on the south elevation to the adjacent building and the need to have egress on this side. And on the west side, because of its location, basically right up against the alley. So there's not really room for it in that location as well. So the north elevation really is the best location for this in order to put this building back into use as a bar restaurant and to activate this building and this area here at the end of Vine Street at Liberty. Thank you.
We do have the architect and owner rep signed up. If either of you would like to add anything, please let me know and we'll get you sworn in.
We don't have anything to add at this time.
Okay. I do not have anyone else signed up. Do any of the board members have any questions for the applicants or staff?
I don't have a question. I would just add or state that whereas I appreciate the lack of alternatives and the effort to conceal it, the exhaust concerns me. Certainly don't want it to be a precedent given its location. And also, I appreciate the need to have additional windows to bring this building back to life. But again, I would not like these two things to become precedent for other buildings. Can't hear you at all, Allison.
Are there any other additional questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I agree with Mr. Voss, but I will propose that we approve the zoning relief and the COA.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I will call the roll. Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman,
Aye.
Mr. Voss,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Zalesko.
Aye.
I also vote aye. I would also note that, I think we should make sure it ends up in the findings that this is only to be a solution in very specific circumstances where we are really lacking for any other options.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to item number 5.
So the last item on the agenda today is 1947 Auburn Avenue. This is in the Auburn Avenue Historic District as well as the Hillside Overlay District. And this project, it was initially reviewed on June 5th. It was tabled by the Historic Conservation Board to allow the applicant to address concerns with the proposed design. Primarily, those were the location of the garage addition and the fencing proposed. It was again tabled to give the applicant more time to work with the adjacent property owner. And so today, as I present, I'm really going to focus on just the changes since the last time this was before the board on June 5th. It is both zoning relief and the certificate of appropriateness review. The zoning relief has changed some since the initial design. What's before you for zoning relief are 2 elements of hillside review. There is the proposal for a rear yard setback, which exceeds the maximum building envelope required 25 feet. It is proposed as 5 feet for the rear yard setback. There is also a hillside review for the cumulative excavation and fill of 9 feet, which exceeds the permitted 8-foot limit. So those are the 2 elements of zoning relief before you. You can see the updated site plan on the screen. The current plans were updated to give a greater setback from Auburn Avenue. They push the garage toward the interior of the lot. So it's placed between the existing ground floor windows on 1943 Auburn, which is the adjacent building. This was really aimed at not blocking views from those ground floor windows. The overall footprint was also reduced from 961 square feet to 715 square feet. And one other note on the site plan is just that an earlier version showed the dimension incorrectly to the on the adjacent property owner's property. So the current version shows that correct, in that distance of 7 feet 2 inches, building to building is correct on this site plan. This is the main Auburn Avenue elevation of the proposed work. The height has been reduced slightly by 0.67 feet. The wood privacy fence at the courtyard along Avenue that has been replaced with a black metal fencing that sits atop a landscape wall. The highest point of that fencing and wall combination will be 6 feet, so it will not exceed the permitted height. And they have also made alterations to the wood privacy fence on the Walker side. And that's been reworked to provide the required transparency of a maximum of 50% opacity. You can see this is the proposed west elevation. This is the rear elevation that's proposed. And in terms of the hillside review, it is both the setback on the south elevation, as well as the cumulative excavation and fill. The shift in location of the addition moved the garage further on the downhill slope, so that that created additional excavation and fill in order to get the footers at an adequate frost depth. But you can see that the foundation is stepped into the hillside, which is what the hillside standards ask. And the setback is also consistent with the streetscape and the topography of the site. So we do make the finding that is consistent with the hillside standards and meets those design requirements. In terms of the certificate of appropriateness review, the placement of the garage has shifted towards the center of the lot. And you could see in this view that it does fit between the window openings at 1943 Auburn, very intentionally to not block the light from the neighboring building. The setback that is currently proposed is also more appropriate, not just in regard to the access to light for the adjacent property, but it also makes the addition less prominent on the street, and it won't overshadow the other historic structures in the vicinity. So we are recommending approval of the hillside review, both elements of the hillside review, based on the finding that such relief from the literal implication of the zoning code will not be a material detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare, or injurious to property within the district or vicinity where the property is located, and that it is necessary and appropriate in the interest of historic conservation, so as not to adversely affect the historic architectural or aesthetic integrity of the district. We are also recommending approval of the certificate of appropriateness with the condition that the building permits must be issued within 2 years of the decision date, or the COA will expire. We are making the finding that the property owner has demonstrated by credible evidence that the proposal substantially conforms to the applicable historic conservation guidelines, and that the garage addition is appropriately sited along a stretch of Auburn Avenue that features row houses with little to no setbacks between buildings. So I'm happy to answer any questions on the staff review.
We do have several people signed up to speak on this, including the owner and applicant. Owner and applicant first, do you have anything that you would like to add? If so, we'll get you sworn in.
I have nothing to add at this time.
I just would like to speak just very briefly.
Sure. Could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I know to the board, you've heard me speak before. My name is Jared Howard. I'm the owner of the property at 1947 Auburn Avenue. You know, as you can tell, And as the staff outlined, we've made significant changes to the original proposal, trying to take into consideration all of your all's feedback as well as feedback from the neighbor, so that we can address everybody's issues. We do ultimately feel like we got to a great product here. We're very pleased with it, and we hope that the board is similarly also very happy with the proposal, and will strongly encourage the acceptance of it so that we can get this project finalized.
Anyone else for the owner and applicant want to speak today?
I would like to speak.
Yeah, I'm about to get to
Sorry.
you. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Burke, would you like to speak for yourself or on behalf of your client, or would you like to turn it over to her? Oh, you are muted.
Sorry about that. I am prepared to turn this over to the client. I think she has something that will help resolve this matter.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Let's get you sworn in.
Could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
What would you like to tell us?
So I would like to withdraw my previous objection to the project, given the changes that the applicant has made. I do think that they are reasonable per the objections I raised previously. So I would like to offer my support for the project.
Thank you. We do have one other member of the public signed up, Andrew McLaughlin. Would you like to add anything? If so, we'll get you sworn in.
Yeah, was curious about the fence on the backside on the Walker Street side. I think all the other.
Mr. McLaughlin, could you raise your right hand? I need to get you sworn in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, now please proceed.
Okay. Yeah, I like the changes that are made, and they say Gochi's happy, we're happy with that. We're just curious about the fence on the Walker Street side. We really didn't get a good view of that. We don't want to, we're just wondering if we're gonna have a big wall back there, or where was the fence on the Walker Street side?
Would either the owner or one of the other applicant representatives care to comment on that?
I can
Okay,
give some.
let's get you sworn in then.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So the fence in the rear or the side yard along Walker Street will be up on the hill at the top of the steepest portion of the hill, but down from the street in Auburn. So when looking at it from Auburn, you really won't see much of the fence, but from Walker Street, it will be up higher on the hill, and it is maintaining a 50% opacity. So it'll read more like a screen rather than a solid privacy fence.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I got everyone who was signed up. Was there anyone else who wished to speak today? Are there any questions or comments from the board members? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to say that I'm pleased that these parties who've been coming back and forth here, it does seem they both came out, they're both happy, and I'm really pleased that this was able to work out the way it did. That having been said, I'd like to make a motion to approve both the zoning relief and the certificate of appropriateness as laid out by staff.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I will call the roll. Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sunderman?
Aye.
Mr. Voss?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Zelasco?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. I can't remember, are there additional agenda items today?
Yes, I move that we approve the COA staff level approvals.
Second.
I will call the roll. Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman?
Aye.
Mr. Voss?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Zelasco?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Allison.
Thanks,
Take
Allison.
care.